What's up, guys? Another Friday, another live stream. You know what's happening. We got a little orange Jeep 5.7, little boost, beautiful thing. Doing a smoke test on it. Came in not running the greatest, doing a compression test, smoke test. I'm back out in the shop, so this is my vehicle for today. There was a leak up front, which is no good, and then I fixed that. Let me just clear off the camera real quick. All right. Thank you, Chris. How you doing, man? So there's a leak right up here when it would move. No bueno. So that got fixed. And then the leak moved to cylinder 1 injector. And now there's another leak. So kind of the process of just narrowing down where these vacuum leaks coming from. Never a good time to have a unmonitored air intake, such as a vacuum leak or something. A whole bunch of issues can be caused by it. Throws fueling off. It's just a pain in the butt. Jeremy hates it. Fix your vacuum leaks before you go ahead and get a remote tune done, fellas. Invest in a smoke tester. They're great. They're great. They're great. I love them. And they show all these problems. So once the stream's over, I'm going to take a whack at it, make sure everything's cleaned up, fixed, put back together, and then this is, I believe, off to the remote tuning. Or not remote tuning, the dyno tuning. So let's see what else is up. Let's see where we're at. This Jeep is in one piece now instead of two, which is cool. How's it going, Arturo? What you doing?
About to gap these spark plugs so I can put them in the Wrangler.
Oh boy. And the Wrangler can gap some Camaros.
Yeah, it's a Wrangler swap top now.
Apparently, we just do Wranglers here. So, you know, send over your Wranglers. But here's this beautiful motor in here, finally. This big old honker. So, what are those valve covers, Arturo? What's going on over there? Let's take a peek at that. Also, don't forget, Trackhawk motor for sale. Hit us up. Trackhawk motor for sale. Love you forever if you buy it. We got some Billet Evolution valve covers going on, baby. Oh, yeah.
Just only got one right now because I just had it up for mock-up.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure clearances. His set's still not ready.
Gotcha. We got a little set we just keep for mock-up purposes. That way if it gets damaged or whatever, it's not a big deal. So.
Just got all of it. It's got the ATI lower.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Dude, you've been cruising on this sucker, man.
Got long tube headers. Take a peek under through the fender well.
Let's take a look at that. Oh, yeah, it does. Look at those sexy little things. Hell yeah, baby. What do we go with? American Racing headers, looks like?
Yeah.
Gotcha. How do you like them? You like putting them on, or?
They were fine.
Good. Good. So, yeah, man, I'm excited to see this thing. She's getting closer as the days go. So, pretty soon you should see a pretty cool video from us about this thing and give her back to her owner so he can enjoy, you know, this beautiful build. So, lots of little details, lots of new parts that had to be put on to make this motor work in this truck. So, there's a whole lot involved here, and we're excited. So you'll see something shortly. Here's more of the long tubes, but yeah, nice work, Arturo. Keep it up. Let's go see what Dan's doing. Matte Black Trackhawk. Little Hellhawk. What you got going on, Dan? 2-inch Cook's headers. Look at these big old mamma jammas. Wow, your light does not like this camera. Anyway, that side's off. This side's going in. It is good to see. Where are those stock manifolds? You got them anywhere? Ah, okay. Let's take a look at these hideous stock things. I'm looking in the wrong spot. If you haven't seen it before, these are the stock manifolds that are in a Trackhawk. Not the best, not the worst, but when you compare it to a long tube, I know what I'm picking. Been tuning in for 2 minutes, haven't seen Tulo's face yet. Just for you, Jeff, no one else. Anyway, long tubes, stock manifolds, get rid of these. All right, let's put these back in here. Let's see what else is cooking. Got a little Hellcat swap, 300 Daytona swap, Hellcat actually. 300 brown interior. Thing is gorgeous. Came in for a level 1. I don't know if I want to show off the power just yet. Ooh, it did good though, y'all. It did good. Near enough 800. So over here we have a 6-speed Hellcat. Look at that, TR6060. In for a little Helion twin turbo kit. So, of course, the Turbo Smart goodies. Gotta love them. This is the boost controller, the eBoost 2 boost controller, 4-port. All of it. He is getting the good, best of the best. Gotta love it. So, but yeah, it'll be a fun little, manual, twin turbo, compound boost. Come on. That just sounds like a recipe for fun. What's up, Doug? Hope you're having a good Friday. Look at the little thing. We got Matt bringing in a Fox body for a wash. Little you want to gap B Trackhawk. You're gonna want turbos, baby. Turbo the world. What's up, Ray? Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, this little sexy white hatchback. Matt's gonna take care of her. So keep an eye out. We'll be putting some. I've been watching the background for mine. Ooh. There she is, Jeff. So pretty. I love that car. Sell it to me. If you ever sell me your car. But don't sell it. But if you do, sell it to me. But don't sell it. Let's go take a look at the WK1. The turbo truck we've been working on for a while. The fabricator has been in here and there. So a little bit more has been done. She's getting way closer. So not much left on this sucker. And then she'll be in there. And this beautiful WK1 will be making all those turbo noises. Gotta love it. Don't mind that. Don't look at that hazard. Just avoid it. But yeah. So this one, I believe, is a level 1 with true flex feel. I believe we are just waiting for the flex harness to be put in. And then she'll be on the rollers. But I'm not 110%. But I'm here. So let's see what else. Let's see where Jeremy is. Jeremy looks like he is ready. And I look very sweaty. What's up, J-Dog?
Oh, no.
You ready for a little could you, should you action? Oh yeah.
You got a list there.
I do.
Look at that. An actual list this time.
I came prepared. That's not right. Something's wrong.
Look,
this is
actual
unangled.
words. Actual words this
I
time.
didn't write it because you can read it. That's the difference.
I can't read that. But that you didn't write that, so. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for chiming in. You can't read it? I mean,
I
you
can
can
kinda
read
read.
yours. All right,
Okay.
let's get it
Could
started.
you, should you? Can you make more power with tighter lobe centers even with a supercharger motor?
Oh, I did the cam question.
I didn't write these.
More power is it's very. There's a lot of variables that go into cam choice, right? So valve sizing, overall lift duration. I mean, there's so much that goes into a cam spec to determine, can your head flow what matches the cam profile, the power area that you have, the compression and stuff like that. So can you? Yeah, I mean, there's a potential for it, specing everything accordingly to the same fashion. It's just, like I said, there's more than just that portion of it that goes into the cam spec. So there's areas that you got to really break down where you want your RPM range and power band to be. Do you want to rev at 8,000 RPM? Do you want it to max out at 6, depending on your displacement and power head or whatever the case may be? So a lot of variables that go into it. So the answer is it's yes, you can. It's just the overall combination. It just makes it very, very difficult to generalize that as every time. But absolutely, if everything matches. So.
Any real gains from running more than a 600 lift with stock aftermarket heads?
Again, and when it comes to cam questions, there's so much more than just a 600 lift, right? The duration, overlap, you know, the compression, everything, intake, exhaust. There's so much more that goes into it. So our cams generally are over a 600 lift, right? When we do our level 3, level 4 packages, even in our Satan Staff camshaft for the Hellcats, ours are over 600. So you absolutely can benefit from it as long as everything matches accordingly. Just because you put a big lift on it with no duration, right, put a goofy overlap into it, it doesn't mean it's going to make power. That's why cam specking is so crucial to any build, to make sure that it matches up to everything and it's all cohesive. So yeah, any cam specking, there's a lot that goes into it to make it a valuable and worthwhile type of adjustment. So.
More of a question from my personal heart. Could you, should you rev a Gen 3 Hemi to 8,000 RPM? Is there any point? What's the cost? I mean, I say cost, but
yeah.
Is there any real point to rev a Gen 3 that high?
Great question. Could you, should you? So could you? Yes. We have done it. Go back a few years, Miguel's, we specifically designed that twin turbo setup to rev to 8,000 RPM. I took it up to 8,200 RPM on the dyno. Bill's another one that one we spec'd it to kind of rev an expected shift point between 74 and 7,600 RPM. So the reasons why, you got to base it off of all of things considered. So can you? Sure. Should you? You base it off what you're shooting for. Now, keep in mind, for us to do that, we had to get a heads cam profile that really floated high RPM. So the sacrifice sometimes when you do that is down low, you are going to lose low to mid-range power. And even mid to high range power, you know, when you're thinking about revving to 8,000 RPM, right? So the reason why we did it, as an example, I'll go to Miguel's car. Originally, I spec'd all of that engine and everything out to go into my personal 392. The goal and objective to it is I wouldn't have to utilize as many gears in the quarter mile pass. So when you actually think about revving out an 8-speed transmission to 7,600 RPM for a shift, for example, it can reduce the amount of shifts you have to do in the quarter mile. So you get to maintain that 8-speed transmission, which is great for fuel economy and power distribution for driving around town, right? The objective behind it was leave in second gear and then literally only shift twice, kind of like a Turbo 400, because of what we anticipated the power level to be and the target with that vehicle setup. So I know you're not watching, you're calling, but we will call you back. That was the whole concept on it, was you can drive around like normal, have an 8-speed transmission for fuel economy, keeping the RPMs low when cruising and driving around. Use that torque multiplication from red light to red light, but then when you're at the racetrack, build up some boost off the two-step, and based on the mile an hour and the gearing with the tires we were running on it, essentially this thing would only be in second, third, and fourth gear to run a midnight second pass.
Wow.
That was the concept, right? You don't have to shift into fifth or sixth gear, and it was just, one of those. So a lot of NAs, in the GM and the Ford world, they try to rev them out as far as they can, again, because what they're really trying to do is get a very high-flowing engine that utilizes and requires high RPM. So when you get these, short runners put on in these big throttle bodies, you really need RPM to get the amount of airflow and velocity that's needed to optimize a heads cam profile for those type of setups. So that's why you see these LS and LT1 guys really trying to rev to 8,000, 8,500 RPM, because they got these big intakes, big heads cam on it, and that's where they're really going to excel. Could you? Yes. Should you? The answer is no. You don't. You don't really need to, right? It's cool to say, but the reality of it is when you get these high RPM shifts, everything is being stressed. So you have to spend a lot of extra money to make sure that you have a very stable valve train. Heat, you have to be conscious of that, because those that followed back those years, if the heads that you order don't come with the right valves in them, you see other things you might not necessarily see at 65, 6,600 RPM. So it's all about power distribution where you're going. So my personal shop car, that Charger, when we had our 426 in it, I shifted at 6,600. Win 850s, as you guys know. There was no need for me to go to 8,000 RPM, but again, I had a very big stroke in that thing, so RPM isn't necessarily their friend. And again, it's all based on the overall spec of it. So, at the end of the day, if you hide the RPM and look at a dyno graph, it's about utilizing horsepower at any given time based on your gearing and your shift schedule. So it's just utilizing that. And the higher you moved, your power band, you have to see how quickly you can get there, right? If your power comes on at 7,200 RPM and you have to shift at 78 because you spec'd it that way, that means you have 7,000 RPM you got to make up on that launch, right? So again, you really got to make sure it all specs accordingly to your setup.
All right, tying into the bigger stuff, we're talking about RPM, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Pros and cons of going to a bigger intake valve, I guess exhaust valve, on both NA and boosted. I guess not everyone needs it, but you know.
Yeah, and again, this comes into your overall setup, right? Boosted, you don't necessarily need as large, right? Because you're going to be forcing the air into it. And again, on an NA setup, if you have too large, you're going to kill the velocity of which the airflow gets put into it. So. Again, when it comes to valve train and the top end of an engine, there is so much that goes into the geometry and the physics of what you're trying to do. So, it is one of those things where, based on the cam profile, based on the duration, based on the lift, you got to verify, are you running into an issue where you can't get enough airflow in where the engine is starving? So where a larger intake valve would be good. Same thing, you want to match equally so that on the exhaust side you can exit the gases without restriction. Now you don't, generally because you're forcing it out with the piston, you don't, necessarily see as large on that side. But again, it all comes down to the overall spec. So there's not a blanketed answer to that. I'm not going to say the largest valves are the most beneficial. That's not always the case. Just like the largest duration is not always the answer. The largest lift is not always the answer. There is so much that goes into the overall spec. So, good question.
Awesome. Let's kind of stick on the head intake side. Talk about AFR versus Thytec. Any experience with both? Could you? Should you?
Thytec's been the king for a while. I have a ton of experience. That was on my shop car. Great quality product. Craig has put in so much R&D and effort into those heads. It's very hard to compete with. AFR, yes, being another option. They finally have come out with their valve options with enlarged valves and things like that. It took them a long time to get them to fit right and have the proper tolerances that we need on it. Do they flow better than a stock head? A ported stock head, I'd say, yeah, probably. It's a good step up from those. But in regards to true apples to apples, I haven't had an engine that had Thytecs that we put AFRs or vice versa to see any type of variance. The fact is they both are improved. They are improved castings and capabilities based on what they're designed. So it's people love your gloves, man.
I'm out there again now.
So I can't give you real world feedback. I have not had engines, with them swapping, for example, to see if there's a before and after change. Are they both better options than stock? Yes. My go-to is still going to be Craig at Thytec when available and if it is an option. So.
Fascinating. What about like Edelbrock heads or other ones out there for like less?
Again,
the same?
Yeah, Edelbrock, I haven't seen much from them. I don't even know if they still really, overly produce them.
Right.
But like I said, the king forever has been Craig at Thytec, man. Proven, and what more do you need from that? I know there's a lot of new faces in the games and people claiming some big numbers and stuff like that. If you're chasing every last horsepower, is there area of opportunity? We'll see. It's nice to see competition and aftermarket support expanding for the Gen 3 community, but again, I can't put them, but flow bench tests and stuff, I get it. People can say whatever they want to say with it, but at the end of the day, I can tell you I'm confident that, a Thytec head is going to make stupid power and flow the way we need it to flow. I've seen gains from putting them on, so if anybody's copying or trying to duplicate that, sure, it might be better than the stock head, but there's not enough real-world data to say, anything can beat a Thytec head at this point. So.
Absolutely. In your opinion, what is the best weight reduction for a Hellcat platform?
I'm starting rotating mass. That's unsprung weight is huge. It doubles and triples in regards to ET production. So you start with the wheels, you start with the drive shaft, items like that. Brakes even, it may seem minor, but when you're trying to jump in and cut weight, they do save you rotating mass. So that's right out of the gate, just like we did on the TRX. The biggest thing were the wheels and the tires, right? They were huge in regards to any type of performance gains from it.
The wheels were stupid light.
Stupid light compared to the OEM.
One hand by itself, don't even know it's there.
Yeah, I mean, you do know it's
there. Yeah, but compared to the
100 plus pound on the OEM.
Stupid fat.
But obviously when it comes to racing at the track, spare tires, car audio stuff is very heavy, so speakers in the back.
Subs.
When you're right, that's speakers in the back.
Yeah.
When you when it comes down to your racing, obviously seats and things like that, that aren't needed while you're racing.
Mm-hmm.
You can get down into not safe, right? But you can get into some crash bars, getting lightweight crash bars. and just finding any little tiny thing, covers on the engine and carpet, you can remove that. That adds up. I mean, it just depends on how deep you want to go. I'll be honest with you.
Cut the inside of the door out if you really want to go crazy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, on my WK1, back in the day when I held the record on that one, we did that. We cut holes in it. We Swiss cheese that thing, man. Plexiglass windows. Windows are huge in regards to weight. That's why sunroof cars stink. Makes it a lot harder. Shop car having a sunroof on it. Great for a daily, but man, when it comes to racing, that's just extra weight you got to battle. So, but yeah, unsprung, rotating mass is what you want to start with first. And that's another benefit of a 15 over a 17. It's going to be a lighter wheel tire assembly. Not only do you get more sidewall, that makes them more consistent, but they are lighter. So, yes, you get, and then you go with a smaller brake, so it's kind of a compounded weight savings. Less weight across the board makes it easier on drivetrain, engine, transmission, everything. You're not needing to move and push as much mass. It makes it easier on everything across the board. So,
kind of tying into that, with our new machines that will be showing up soon, are we planning on making any lightweight drag brake assemblies? And also
15-inch conversions?
Yeah. How are they for street use? Hey, buddy. Oh.
Joe!
Oh.
Are we making 15-inch conversions?
Whatever people want.
Whatever the people want. Great.
Put what you want us to make in the comments, and Joe might make it, or...
We have a long list.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things added to the list. We're a small team, so we'll get to it when we can get to it, but it doesn't... It's not a no. So we have the list of priorities of what we really want to get out first.
Into manifolds.
Number one.
Yep. And then custom wheels for Tulo, number 2 with spinners, and then everything else second or third. I'm not good.
Anyways,
can't even count to 3,
so
man.
I know we were hoping to have the machines. They were originally scheduled to be here Thursday, as everything with the weather and such. It was delayed till Monday. So Monday right now is our scheduled date for the machines to be here. So
delays happen all the time.
Delays happen. Yeah.
Parts, machines,
Tuesday,
cars.
Yeah, we're cleaning stuff up now, getting the shop ready for it. Tuesday will be when they get electrocuted and wired in, plumbed in, and set up. So hopefully by the end of next week, Joe, you think you're cutting some metal? Yeah, he's nodding his head over there. So by the end of next week, our new 5-axis Haas machine will be cutting, and our new lathe. We're excited to see what they do for us. So yeah, next week we will. Yes, Bob, we'll do lightweight motorcycle parts.
Oh my God, we can make a top-end oiling kit just for you.
Yeah, Bob, back to work.
The 2 other GX people.
Yes.
Get your mic running first.
Yeah, that
fix your trans, dude.
Yeah, jeez.
Good God.
So we have a long list. So hopefully by next vlog next week, you guys should see those in action. We're really, really excited. So, but yeah, 15-inch conversion is definitely on the list.
Motorcycle parts.
Yeah,
let us know what you want.
Yeah, with this we are expanding our offerings. It doesn't have to be car related too. So
and it's not just Dodge.
It's not just Dodge. Yeah, we are going to be expanding to the Ford and GM, even the imports. So
if you have a Corolla GR you want to drop off here,
just let it go. Just let it go. But anyways, so let us know what else you have, right? We know not everybody here drives just Mopar. So what other vehicles you have, we are going to be expanding the support on that as well. Joe, isn't busy enough as is, so we just kind of
want to
up for him. So
we want to work 90-hour weeks.
Yeah, so get those recommendations in there for us. But soon.
Tying into that with like a 15-inch conversion, how is it for street use? Could you, should you? Yeah. Is it something where it's like, oh, I really noticed the reduction in braking, or is it's not that bad?
Yeah.
Also, how are replacement parts? Now that it's not an OEM thing where I can't just walk into O'Reilly's, how do I get new brake, shoes?
Yeah.
Pads,
just like the aftermarket world, there is an aftermarket, brake pad option for it and rotors. So everybody that uses these 15-inch conversions are Willward or Bear, so they have support for them. Basically, what it is a shop at some point developed a kit, made an agreement with whatever brake company they use,
Cummins.
And then you're able to get the the parts that you need for the maintenance. So you just contact the manufacturer of your 15-inch conversion. They'll have the part numbers you need to cross-reference, and you're good. I've driven, obviously tuning-wise, and my own personal car with a 15-inch conversion on it. Normal driving, you honestly, because of how good the front brakes are and the fact that you're going with an aftermarket rear brake, it's not horrible. You know what I mean? You really don't notice it. I will tell you, yes, at the racetrack, roll racing. I did a roll racing event with them. Top speed runs, back-to-back on the highway roll racing, in Mexico. you do start to notice the fade. You do start to notice them getting a little tired and you having to lean on it a little bit more, and you will have to change those front rotors and pads more often. It's not horrible for a daily driver by any means. You know what I mean? Just putzing around town. Honestly, I'd line a bunch of cars up and not tell you what brake they have. I don't think you're going to notice the difference in normal operation. But, if you're doing 100 mile an hour to 0, trying to see how quickly you do it, it might be a few feet extended type thing. But normal feel and such, because it is an aftermarket, high-performance rear brake still, it works very well. So.
We use it's a Willwood kit from TCE, and that uses the factory parking brake assembly.
Right.
So that still stays the same. Some don't.
Right.
This one does. It just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I like installing them. They're pretty fun.
Make sure there's still grinding involved. It's been the OG way, but it works. You know.
I believe that they also let you pick colors too. So if you
they
like
did
a black,
update to the colors now. Yeah. So
you got a black front, you don't have to run a red rear and whatnot.
So, yeah, we use them all the time on my personal cars and a ton of customer cars. Great quality, and they work. So
they're killer, man.
Yeah.
And it's nice because then it gives you the option to run that 15-inch wheel and again help with the unsprung weight.
Right.
All that fun stuff.
Yep.
Cameron heard that. Anyway, let's see. Pros and cons. Upgrading through the stages, like going from the level 1 to level 2 to level 3, or just doing it all at once to get to your desired power.
We developed our packages in the rate we do so that they are progressionary, right? So it allows you to start out somewhere and then kind of work your way up for both the NA 5739261s all the way to any Hellcat powered vehicle. Now, naturally, if you do a bigger package like a level 3, level 4, right out of the gate, it's going to overall, over a time frame, save you a little bit of money, right? Naturally, if you do a level 1 and then come back for a level 3, we'll say on any platform, going to the level 3 from the level 1 will be slightly discounted because we already have a lot of the items in place that come with the level 1. But there's still additional labor and work that goes into making the progression through the stages. So yes, in a long-term scheme of things, it will save you overall money if you can take that leap right out of the way. But they are designed for you to be able to progress up through the chain, depending on your budget. You know what I mean? Sometimes we understand it's not easy to, jump right into a level 5, for example. We understand, it might be easier to start the level 1, get that initial kick, and then work your way up. It's a budget-friendly option. But yes, overall, you will save a little bit of money by doing it initially right out of the gate. Wade, if, for example, going from a 3.5 to a 5, if you did the 5 originally, a lot of the 3.5 we wouldn't need to do, but there are items out of the 3.5 that, are needed and implemented by the 5. So it is one of those where you will save money if you can take the leap right away, but we understand sometimes it's that progressionary thing. So they are, progression friendly to help our customers make that journey, especially if you've never modded a car before. Try the level 1 and see what you think, right? It might be more than enough and you'll be happy for a long time. Whereas you might get used to it or get beat by something and it's time to go to level 2, 3, or 5 or whatever the case may be.
Especially with the drivability changes that the more heavily in-depth modifications bring out, like cam cars, they have low. Some people don't want that, so starting small is easier because it's like, okay, I like this, I'll call it quits rather than get too deep into something you end up not enjoying just for your personal tastes.
Right. Exactly. So it definitely, there's pros and cons to both, but they are designed to help you take those steps that you need to assist over the progression. But all at one if you can.
May get this. Decide you need all the boost and turbo. Yeah, honestly, just skip all the packages. Just go straight to turbos, a built motor, and a fuel system to begin with.
5+,
Whatever you have, it doesn't matter if it's Pacifica, a Dodge Dart,
turbo it.
Minivan, yes, you should turbo the minivan. Because you should do, yes.
All right, what else you got?
A lot of Cummins interest for parts. A lot of Cummins
We'll
interest.
talk, Wade. Let us know.
And Jeff, too.
Oh, Jeff, too?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, let us know. We'll see what we can make up for you.
I think that's about it.
All right, I had one that was brought up, ice tanks for the street. I know we hit on it a little bit in the past, but this is a great could you, should you. Ice tanks for a street car. My answer to that, could you? I mean, obviously that's kind of a generic, yes you can. Should you? That's not my normal go-to or vote. And this is the reason why, and I'm going to kind of cover it. The reason I'm bringing it up is I actually have 2 customers that I've been emailing in the past 48 hours that, different shops built their cars. Big builds, right? Built motors, built transmission, fuel systems, big blowers, cam, all of that stuff, right? A very proper builds, and both of them opted for an ice tank. And for those that don't know what the ice tank is, oh Remy, it's just AO.
Pizza.
Essentially what we're doing is in a factory vehicle with a supercharger or air-to-water intercooler, coolant flows through your power adder, your intake manifold, your blower, whatever the case may be. It then goes through heat exchangers, 1 or 2, for example. And then it has an overflow, just so you know the level, and then it just recirculates. Just like a cooling system in for engine coolant. It goes through the engine, goes through a radiator, and then it cycles. Those heat exchangers / radiators are what cool the coolant, right? It uses ambient air and wind to essentially, as you're driving, airflow to cool the fluid and then recirculate it back through, okay? Now, what we see a lot on ice tank installations is those heat exchangers are removed. Now, the question would be why? Why would you remove heat exchangers on a cooling system? Well, this is why. The purpose of an ice tank is you have a big box, a couple gallons, 2 to 5, depending on your setup, and you fill it with a bunch of ice water. It could be coolant, but you put ice in it. And the whole intention is the ice drops the temperatures down. Now, the reason why you move the heat exchanger is because the ambient air temp is hotter than that of what the coolant is from the ice. So if you have hot air going over your heat exchanger where the coolant inside technically should be cooler, it will have a negative impact. Now, you can have the heat exchanger first, right, where it goes through the 2 heat exchangers, and then it gets back to the tank where the tank is, and then it flows into it that way. Sure, you can do that. But now what you're doing on a system is you're really, really taxing. That's a lot of holes and a lot of movement it has to go through. Believe it or not, the pumps really are working hard. So, is it truly an efficient setup? That's why you see a lot of guys will just remove the hoses and keep it so there's no heat exchanger and just go straight in so it goes back and the ice is truly what's cooling everything. So depending on your setup, it may work, it may not work. But the other problem you have is now you have all this extra fluid, right? So it's going through the heat exchangers, going through, a car length worth of hose, 10, 12, 14 feet of hose, depending on where it's all mounted, right? So now you cooled it, and now it's just going through with no airflow. It's going to start to heat up again, especially when ambient temps are 80, 90 degrees, right? It's going to start heating up again. It's going to sit in this big tank where there's no airflow. It's sitting in your trunk. Trunks are hot. Even with your AC on, it's you're out in the sun.
Your exhaust is on both sides
right.
of it.
It's hot inside that trunk. So now that fluid that just went through heat exchangers is getting heated basically in a box. And then it's going to flow back through the blower.
Doesn't seem efficient.
It doesn't work, right? Mm-hmm. So I have people right now where they're seeing pretty high air charge temps because their coolant of their superchargers are getting hot. And when the coolant itself flowing into the blower, for example, is 110, 120 degrees because it's getting cooked in that tank before it goes to the front, it's not going to be efficient, right? So these are things you have to consider when you're taking that jump. Now, the way to go for a street car is a chiller system, IC chiller, utilizing your AC to cool it, hence why they did it on Demons and Red Eyes, right? Very nice system. You still can utilize your heat exchangers for normal driving. You turn it on, and then you still have AC inside the car and run it. You can bypass the heat exchangers to ultra cool that fluid and use the actual AC unit to cool it and get it back in. Can you add an IC chiller onto an ice tank system? Absolutely. Again, it might not be as efficient as you condense the amount of fluid that's there, right? The super cool, where you see guys in the teens or 20s, they just don't have a lot of fluid, so it's just circulating fast. You do need a little bit of fluid there to help suck the heat out of your blower, your intake manifold, whatever you're trying to suck the heat out. So do keep that in mind. Sometimes dropping down into the teens or the 20s might not be optimal. It's okay if it's only at 30, 40 degrees. Again, that coolant temp is still significantly better than the ambient temps, right? Mm-hmm. So you're still relying on the airflow to help cool things down in the given with the AC chiller systems and IC chillers. So do keep that in mind when you have an ice tank and really verify how you want to route it and what you're doing. They're called ice tanks for a reason to keep ice in them. That's why at the racetrack, you put ice in it for a pass, and then you take it out, you drain the water, and fill it back up with ice. So keep in mind what the design of this system is. So as a daily driver, it's not optimal.
When it gets icy lines, how is that racetrack safe? Does it drip?
It can drip, absolutely. That's why red eyes and stuff don't get down into sub-freezing temperatures because your AC lines and everything can create condensation and drip off. AC on by itself can. They help bypass that at that given time, but when you have it down when it's sub-freezing, those lines will frost over. So throw some insulation on to keep it in and stuff. But And again, people have the hard start issues when it's super cold, right? Anybody that's had it for a while in super hot temperatures and you have 30-degree coolant temps going through it, creates condensation on the inside of the blower, and then you got water on the back of your valves while you're starting it. Again, so you just kind of understand what you're going through and what your overall goal is there. So really for a street car, I'm not a fan of ice tanks. Sure, pair it up with a chiller, and that's okay because, for like a roll racing car with an ice tank and an icy chiller, you're going to have a nice 3, 4, 5 gallon tank where, yeah, it might not be 20 degrees, it might be 30, 40 degrees, but that's still, even 50 degrees, that's much cooler than that of what the ambient temp is going to be most likely at that given time, so it will help for those long pulls to have some still cooled fluid in there. But like I said, if we remove a chiller from the situation, no matter what, you're going to reduce the efficiency until you throw ice in it. So you're not going to see the same as OEM because you're extending the length and the amount of fluid of the cooling system, right? And you're cooking it in the tank. I mean, unless you throw some fans on it and put ducts in with airflow, what people don't do, lay in the trunk, on an 80-degree day and see how warm it is. That you have 3 gallons of coolant that's just flowing in that and then getting pumped back to the blower.
Think about getting in a hot car after going shopping and drinking your water left in there. It's hot.
Right.
Same thing happens to that.
Yeah. And then even too, if you do it the vice versa, where it goes straight out of the blower to the ice tank,
right.
You have super hot fluid there, and you're running super hot fluid through the heat exchangers going to the back. It's still not going to be as efficient because you're literally cooking that fluid. You're not giving it its opportunity. So just something to consider. Make sure it's routed correctly and understand what your objectives are with the vehicle. I just wanted to hit on that because, like I said, I have a couple customers that are dealing with this issue on their daily driven cars. And there's a lot that does go into it. Like I said, speccing everything, you got to make sure it all makes sense for what you're going to use the car for. If you're 90% street car, there's other ways to do it. So thanks for checking in, guys. We're going to go eat lunch now. Keep the questions coming. We'll use them for next week.
Please do.
And thank you again for the support, everybody. Have a good one.